love is this burning thing that it makes the fire ring.
I got you.
What does it go out?
But I know love
I don't know what that's about.
as a fading thing, just
Should we
as
start
fickle
now?
as a feather in
Yeah,
the stream. See, honey, I saw love.
there we are.
We started.
We've started.
It's a flattering top I've decided to wear.
We almost forgot like how this is gonna work. So we were just panicking, texting our tech person, but here we are.
Hold on, guys. We're gonna try.
See ourselves a little better here. If you want to see us, we can see us right here on the computer. Okay.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday live talk / community event. So this is our fourth one, and we've decided to just change it up a little bit this month because we're testing out some things. We want to see what works best for the community. We want to see what feels good to us. So there will be weeks where we go over very specific health topics. And of course, there are going to be weeks where we're doing deep dives into things. But part of the magic of the portal is that we are just human beings. We're not here to teach college lectures necessarily. We are here to talk about.
I taught 2 college lectures this week at a college. But tonight I'm a Cookie Monster.
And I'm wearing a shirt with a clown on it.
So yeah, the best we can do tonight, y'all.
Pretty great. This is a punk band out of Memphis called Big Clown. I went to their show. Highly recommend. It's pretty amazing.
We got a big clown t-shirt out of it.
Big Clown t-shirt.
Sweet. Anyway,
Although we are capable and have in fact taught college lectures
twice this week.
twice this week. We just want to play with the format a little because some people have been saying to us, like, this is so interesting and we love it, but we're so curious about you two and what else you have to say outside of the anatomy and the theoretical side of healthcare. So we thought that today would be a good opportunity to just start talking about some things that we've been working on. Not to be too much of a dork about it, but I saw this thing this week. We're having to get into this world of using our social media for work. And, I'm sure we can all agree that it's uncomfortable, it feels hard, it feels vulnerable. And with that being said, it's just part of life as we know it. So as uncomfortable as it is, it's something that we're having to confront. And I saw this woman talking about how she had unfollowed all of these people because they had all on the same day sort of put out the same sort of messaging. And that messaging was, I've really been struggling for the past year. I've really been struggling for the past 6 months. And now I am transformed. And now I am new. And the woman was like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that there's a secret. I don't want to hear that there's a miracle. I want to hear the nitty gritty.
Or that there's even a destination.
Exactly.
Where are we going?
There
Where are we
is no
going?
finished product.
No.
We are not products. We will not be finished.
No.
That's not to say we can't like ourselves, but we're not finished products. So we wanted to talk about the word goals, because goals can be really scripted to define someone's value, or the pursuit of the goal can make us believe that when we accomplish the goal, we are finished, that we have reached a destination.
Or that the goal is somehow this thing that's like external to our own experience, right? Rather than the goal being something that's a little bit more of an internal experience for ourselves. Like the goal is outside of us and we either get it or we don't. Right?
Yeah, this externalized presentation of self. And especially, this is not the direction I plan to go, but we're going to make this very conversational today. But this goal of okay, we're going to go on social media and we're going to have these goals. In the world of presenting ourselves on the internet, there's two things. There's the goal is not external from us, and many of us are feeling like we have to externalize and create some version of ourselves in order to accomplish goals. And I don't think that's new with the internet, but I do think that we find ourselves in this condensed situation of how do I create a version of myself so that I can reach a goal. That's only one way that we've been thinking about this.
Mhm.
But obviously the first place we'd like to go with this is talking about goals in our health. And health can mean healthcare. It also can mean many other things. But often when we talk about goals with health, there's a couple of things that people most commonly come in with. The most obvious goal of I'd like to be out of pain. Um, Sometimes there are goals of I'd like to enjoy my family or I'd like to enjoy my life. And then there are all sorts of other goals that, sometimes for better or worse, people really place their value on. If I can accomplish this goal, then I will feel like I am now valuable or I am good enough. And we see this, I'll
Yeah,
just sort
I
of,
see this a lot with patients who had a baby and then they no longer really feel as though that there's a balance in their libido and their sex drive with their partners, especially like the mother, like the female member of the relationship, or the one who gives birth, if it's a same sex couple. And um they feel as though like they experience pain and discomfort with sex, and they have low drive, and they're just like, I just want to make my partner happy, right? My goal is to make my partner happy. Or patients who have erectile dysfunction, again, their goal is this very external, like, I need to have a hard penis again, and it's a very concrete goal. Also, like the idea of like bouncing back after pregnancy, like these goals that are um sort of like unreflected, like they know something's missing, and they know that they want to change like their relationship to a thing, but it's not really driven by what they're really looking for.
yeah. And I think, that in and of itself, we could go off on for an hour, maybe we will. But when Kathleen was talking, it like became very clear to me that when people have these goals, and those goals really, they are, I'm not saying they're not worthy goals, but those are externalized goals, right? Like I want to do
Mhm.
this so that someone else can feel joy. And I mean, that's just part of being a partner, right? We want to do right by our partners. We want to do right by other people in our lives. And those partners don't always have to be romantic. I want to do right by Kathleen as my partner in business and my partner in thinking and creating things. But I think that that becomes very layered. And one thing I'm often talking to people about is, our goals, the path from A to D is not A, B, C, D. It is A, F, Q, R, C,
Back to
D,
A.
back to A. And one of the most common things, and I really want folks that are struggling to hear this, either whatever it is, pain, mental health, um, socially, is that all progress looks like this. You know, there was a great line I heard this week, and it was sometimes you just got to do the math. I shared this with one of my patients. They were like, oh, that really helps. Like 2 steps forward, 1 step back is still 1 step forward. You just have to do the math sometimes. You've just got to like stop beating yourself up. And, because we have been fed this narrative, which can be true, but is almost never true, that there is an answer. I think many of us feel defeated when working towards a goal. And the first, second, even third or fourth thing that we try doesn't actually get us to our goal. And the reason why is because of what Kathleen was saying. It's not the goal itself, although our goals are important. It's the being present and the deciding to move forward into a goal that changes us. When we say, I have a goal to get out of pain, or I have a goal to run a 5K, and I love this. I do the most squishy part of me really loves this. It's like the goal itself will feel good if you accomplish it. It might not feel good if you don't accomplish it. Along the way, you might change your mind, yada yada. But the idea that we can recreate what we believe is possible for ourselves, I think can be a really important and often overlooked or swept aside part of the goal making. So when we
Yeah, it's like that vulnerability that it takes to even establish or create the goal in and of itself is a thing, right? It's not this like end point, but I'm going to take this time and set this goal for myself. Like that process in and of itself has a lot of value.
Yeah, that process is what sort of enforces what we feel we are or are not capable of, right? Like setting the goal of I want to run a 5K. That means that somewhere in you, you believe that you can run a 5K. I also think it's totally acceptable to, have a goal and decide that you're going to push it aside. Um, I just had a thought and it totally popped out of my head. Um, oh darn it, where was I going with that? Well, anyways, we'll just get back to it. So, as we're thinking about this and we're thinking about the ways that people set these for themselves in healthcare, one of the things that happens, right, is frustration. Like when we aren't reaching our goals, there are a lot of big feelings that come up. And also, like most goals don't get done. This is my whole point is like we don't get from A to D because the way that you get to a goal is you fail or you try something or you learn something hard. So easy goals are very far and few between. And sticking with this analogy of the postpartum person, like not all people have a goal to be pregnant, but many people do. And then they get pregnant and there is this real, or to have a baby. And then they have this baby and there's just this overwhelming sense sometimes of like frustration and alienation because the fantasy of the goal is never the reality.
Mhm.
The thing we envision for our lives and for ourselves, it's always going to land different than the picture that we have created in our head. And in our house we do a lot of like talking about like political and historical orientation. And one time my daughter was she was in history class and she came home and she was deconstructing this line of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which I think is a really fascinating line because I think it is a lie. I
Mhm.
think life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, what it says to us, and sorry to be sorry to be a social studies teacher, but the pursuit of the thing never actually gets us the thing.
Mhm.
It's you have to be in it. Like to sell someone a goal as a finish line will always leave them feeling empty
Mhm.
because we will always move the goalposts. We will celebrate our wins and then we'll think, well, what if? And then
Mhm.
insert thing. What if I did it better? What if I felt better? Or maybe like, what if I do it again because it was so exciting? But like, there is no finish line. Um, and one of the things we've been talking about in our clinic is discharging patients because we do functional care. And what I've started talking about functional care as is non emergency medicine. So essentially, we see folks, yes, in crisis, but we end up seeing those folks throughout life because we are so good at managing anxiety and stress and pain. It's the whole reason why we came up with the portal. We were like, how do we help to continue to give these tools to people?
Right. It's like quality of life care versus care that is moving towards a cure, right? So you use a medication to get from point A to point B, and it's a very clear mechanism of action. But when you're working with structures like the nervous system and how that affects, your life on a day-to-day basis, and we're met with transitions throughout the lifespan, like that, things will change. We will do things that will set us back. We will do things that will move us forward. We will have new sets of physical and emotional goals. So like the work that we do is really quality of care, and that sort of care is continual. It doesn't end. And anyway, sorry,
No, that's
cut you
great.
off, but
No, I
yeah.
mean, I think, I think that's kind of the point, right? Like this life, the conditions of living, both a realized and unrealized life, will always present us with moments where we feel good and moments where we feel badly or where we feel poorly. And the idea that there is only one goal and thinking if I can just do this one thing, it's a paradigm that I would really love to shift because I think it leaves people either once they have attained their goal feeling quite empty or in the pursuit of their goal. And there are exceptions to this, but we're talking about the people that are looking for resources, looking for support, or in the pursuit of that goal, feeling frustration and alienation. So I guess on one hand, this is a plea and also like a little bit of motivation to try to find moments where you are noticing how far you've come, where you're noticing the small differences. If you're a person that has chronic pain and you come into my office day one and you say, I have this terrible shoulder pain, and my goal is for it to be completely gone because I want to play tennis. And 3 weeks later, you come in and you say, I still have pain, but you tell me that you're able to sleep through the night because you no longer have excruciating pain and that you've played tennis 4 times since I first saw you. I want to remind you that the goal is to play tennis pain free, but we cannot disregard our hard work and our progress at the altar. We cannot sacrifice that at the altar of the goal. And I think that is true for many things in life. I think people often do this with money. I think people often do this with time. My goal is that I want to spend my weekends totally present with my children. And then, they'll get a weekend with their children and they'll go back to work and they get so wrapped up with like, yeah, but then this morning I was flustered again, then I was busy. And it's like, yeah, but you were actually busy. Like you actually get a pass. And like you did get the weekend, you did get the time. And this other part of goal making and how to maybe sit and reflect on this interesting word, right? This word can be used in a lot of ways and it can also be weaponized. Is that sometimes we can use goals to prevent ourselves from forward movement. We can give ourselves a little like, well, that's good enough. Well, my life is settled. I don't need any more. So, I have some family members and their goal was like, we just want to get to a point in our life where we only have to work a couple of days a week. They're older. One of us is retired. One of us wants to work a couple of days a week. And we did it. Like that was our goal. But then they're also telling me that they're not feeling good in their bodies and they're not moving and they're not really seeing friends like they used to. And I'm like, well, what is stopping you? Like, I'm genuinely curious. Why don't you want to get up? Why don't you want to go out? And they're like, well, you know what? I could, but at my age, I've done what I've set out to do. I had a goal. I've reached it. And then, the goal becomes this sort of like upper limiting structure that we've put in place to tell ourselves we don't deserve to strive or feel or to feel rebellious about the paths that have been laid out for us. And I bring this up, I think, because clinically, Kathleen and I have talked a lot about what does it mean to discharge a patient? Because our goal is actually to be kind of crappy business people. Like our goal is to have a reputation where people are like, I saw this person a few times and I felt drastically better. And now I see them for basically like annual or quarterly follow-ups and they keep me in good condition. But we've talked about how, and that is actually our goal now. Our goal is, you're not expected to live in pain. You're supposed to come to us with your problems when they are very small so that we can stop them from becoming huge issues. And I'll let Kathleen speak on this a little bit because she said this brilliant thing and I loved it. And she was talking about how previously when she had discharged patients, she had, is it okay if I throw you under the bus here?
Yeah, of course.
So she was talking about how she had discharged patients, even though she knew she could get them feeling even better than they felt because they had reached their goal. And essentially what she had told them, and I've done this myself, what I've told these patients without meaning to, was what we've handed them is this is as good as you can feel. And because we're in a position of authority, people then think this is as good as I can feel. I don't know if you have any thoughts on
and
that.
then I brought that up specifically in regards to a few patients because I had then found out through the grapevine, friends, colleagues, or they came back for another appointment. And it was basically like they ended up going down this rabbit hole of medical things because basically I think what happened was their we met the goal that we needed to, and they were feeling good because of the modalities that we utilized, whatever they were, exercise, manual therapies, whatnot. And then I discharged them thinking like, oh, you're independent to do these things on your own. The problem is they felt great and they did probably more than they were supposed to do and still kept doing the exercises, but they lost that relationship with me to help steer them through the challenges, and then ended up in the hands of doctors who were giving them this shot and this injection and this MRI and this and that. So I had a moment of like, I had my very codependent self was like, oh, I've ruined people's lives. But then like I slowed down and I just thought, I need to have these conversations with my patients about like, we will address your goals now, but there are going to be other things that we need to continue to do to then maintain the quality of life that you achieved with the goal. So it was like, I think this comes down to kind of establishing goals for a purpose, but then also, continuing to have more goals, with the goal being quality of life and all of these other things, not just like, this is what I'm going to do and then I'm going to stop when I get here. And that, in our world of treating patients, this comes down to conversations and reframing what they can expect in terms of what care is, because they've been conditioned, we've all been conditioned to see medicine as something that it's like, it is just a mechanism of action that's going to get you here. And then that door is closed once that problem is solved. But what we work with is people like that are humans that are evolving, that need ongoing relationships in order to help steer them in the right direction. And so the goals evolve. And so goal setting in our clinic is really like mindset work, like thinking about reframing, oh, my age, because of my age, this, or because I had a baby, this, or because I'm this, then because of this. So I don't deserve to expect to improve my quality of life and get back to having a great sex life, or being able to go for a run, or being able to play with my children, or whatever, whatever the goals are. So I think it's like goal setting in the clinic for us is really a lot of mindset work with patients and getting them, selling them on this mindset shift, which could take a long time. And it's also, when we're setting our own personal goals and business goals, it does come down to a lot of mindset work. And we work with professional coaches and we work with each other, therapists, to help with our mindset around establishing goals, because there is a lot of connotation around goal setting as this like very linear process that it's not.
It's not. And I also feel like there's a lot of there can be, in some conversations around this, a lot of tension between like, well, what do you mean we can just continue to set goals? And does that mean you want patients to see you for forever? And that's not really what we're saying. What we're saying is like, in the evolution, and by the way, like, I'm not even necessarily saying that evolution has to be a positive thing. It's just, we're going to think of it as like a way to like measure time, right? Like, time lapses. That is the nature of time. It passes. So as time lapses and our goals shift, we're not saying that we expect people to see us forever. We expect people to use us as a resource, because these relationships are important. And I think that, in Toni's old soapbox of like centering alienation as part of this moment in history, I think that the relationships we have in our communities have started to be seen as frivolous. And I do not believe that to be true.
Yeah.
I think that like, not setting goals that involve people outside of yourself. This isn't a blame thing. This is a talk I'm giving myself. Keeps us A, alienated, and B, feeling like it is our fault.
Mm-hmm.
That we have made a mistake, or we haven't chosen the correct thing, or that we are missing a crucial piece. And, I've said this so many times now, but people are just always saying to us, and typically, because we do this mindset work, and I love thinking about it like that, it's typically our newer patients or our newer evals that are coming in and they're saying, what else can I do?
Mhm.
And they're doing so much, and they're doing such beautiful work and such hard work and such vulnerable work. And it's the question that actually breaks my heart
Mhm.
because I'm like, you don't need to do more. The responsibility isn't just yours. It's that we need to realign ourselves with like what progress towards our goals looks like so that we can be enjoying our lives and recognizing our progress in the interim or our failures and how we've learned from them or our
Mhm.
frustrations and how we feel from them, so on and so forth. I don't believe in like the hierarchy of emotion. Like happiness is not always the goal, and healing sometimes anger is the goal, or I don't know, there's a million places we could
And
go.
there's extraordinary amounts, I think, of frustration as well for patients. And this is again a big piece of the mindset work that we, patients, friends, colleagues, people that I work out with, we we have to sell the slow little just steps forward. And like they do involve step backs, but we really have to help people through navigating the fact that everywhere you look in this world, on social media, in your doctor's office, on Facebook, everywhere you go, Google, whatever, there's going to be so many options for this quick fix. Like there's so much noise out there in terms of like trying to get you to focus less on the goal and the process towards meeting that goal and all of the enrichment that comes from that. And they're trying to get you to buy into this bullshit like quick fix thing. And it's everywhere. And patients come in and they're probably experiencing so much shame because they fell for that gimmick and they fell for that thing. And we see this all the time, telling people like stop buying the supplements. You are just throwing your money down the toilet by buying all those supplements. So like trying to get people and trying to get all of you who are listening to us right now to understand that like it's not so much about the result, but it's that process, because all of the growth, all of the understanding, the awareness, the opportunity to feel, right? That's going to be what exists all along that path. And healing is like peeling back an onion. The first year of healing work is just uncovering and excavating and learning more and creating and drawing patterns. And then you start to kind of get those little glimpses of healing. And it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, anyone out there that has done EMDR,
Yeah.
anyone out there that has recovered from serious pain or has been in a terrible accident, like whatever the thing is, like one thing is that like the minute one thing starts to feel better, you're gonna start to notice all the other places
That
that
feel worse.
feel terrible. And some of those are mental and some of those
Yeah.
are physical. And as I talk about this, the one analogy I keep coming back to, it's not great. I'll warn you now. But one analogy is like, when you first walk into my office, it's like a folded up tiny piece of paper.
Mhm.
My job is to unfold that piece of paper. And as I
Mhm.
unfold that paper, what do I notice? I notice all the creases, but you are still whole. We're just
Mhm.
seeing where all the creases and where all the dents are. They were there all along, but you weren't unfolded. So as we reintroduce you to your body or your sense of safety or your sexuality or your relationship with your community or partner or friends, it's going to be uncomfortable. Like healing happens in relation, but it happens in relation to ourselves and to other people and to our communities. And it is uncomfortable. It is why many of us don't want to stretch, right? And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not here for stretching. I'm not part of big stretch, but if you haven't stretched your legs in a long time and you very gently were to attempt like a forward fold and to touch your toes, it would be uncomfortable, but it's not
Like the grandparents in Willy Wonka.
because we were talking about the grandparents Willy Wonka all
Nonstop. Nonstop.
not Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe
Grandpa
great.
Joe can walk, but what's with the other one?
They are
They-
rough.
That was their goal.
Their goal was,
They are goals.
You know-
They are where goals go to die.
yeah, I mean that is goals. Kathleen and our
I
dream
mean,
is
that's
to
my
just-
fucking goal.
is just to be in one big bed covered in faux fur blankets.
Oh my God. I was listening to this. I'm listening to this book, 4,000 Weeks. Take it with a grain
Guys.
of salt. I don't know, whatever. But
We'll
there's
book
some
club
really
it.
no,
We'll
but there's
book
some
club
really
it.
funny shit in there. So they're talking about this guy whose life goal was to spend as much time as possible on like Carnival cruises or something like that. So this guy, he's been interviewed in like tons of documentaries. He spends all of his life on like a Carnival cruise. And he's like, he has all these people come and interview him, and he's like, I'm the happiest man in the world. Mind you, he is like so miserable. He's like saying hi to all the employees, like he's got nothing to do. He lives on this cruise. He doesn't have to take out his garbage. He doesn't have to do anything. Like he has set the goal to not have to do anything for himself, but is enjoying his life. And then they're like, he walks around screaming at everybody that works on deck that he can't watch Fox News. He's the most unhappy man on the planet.
So, this is an excellent point. And I was like, sometimes we use goals to avoid feeling things.
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Over planning, overthinking,
Like
over
it's something we can
exercising.
control.
Like
Yep.
all of these things are used to not feel. And like, there's just like, guys, you're not getting out of it.
Mm-mm.
You're gonna feel it.
Mhm.
You're gonna feel it one way or the other. Oh, you don't want to let your emotions out? Okay, cool. What are you doing? Clenching your stomach? Have you not pooped in a month? Like there's just a million ways that this can go. So, overthinking is under feeling. Well, guess what? Over planning and over perfection and over setting goals and needing to be stringent to that goal,
Yeah.
you're gonna end up on a Carnival cruise, sitting in a hot tub with 9 people from, well, I'm not gonna name a city because one day I'll be there and I'll be like, just kidding, Boise's great. But like, no one can hand
From
you
Springfield.
from Springfield, Illinois with Homer Simpson. But this is a little bit of a throwback from what Kath was saying, but she was talking about these quick fixes on the internet. And it's not only is it tempting, but for me, it's addicting. Like I do, like for all my ranting and raving and talking about process, like, please believe I wish there was a quick fix.
Mhm.
What I would give to not do the work. It's exhausting. And all this
Well, it's just bad relationships. It's just misery.
like, guys, I'm just gonna stick my head in this clown shirt and cry a little. But no. Hold on. Stay with me, everybody.
I'll be right back.
We've devolved. I'll be right back. But
Anywho.
hold on, wait.
Okay.
I do have a point.
Okay. We're
Well-
getting on time.
Okay, we're short on time. Then I will not close with this, but I'll get very close to it. But as Kathleen was saying, these quick fixes and how I would really love one. But like every quick fix hands you a fake goal or hands you a very real goal with a fake path there. So, there are no 3 steps to a pain-free back. There is no one secret. You need to have beautiful skin. There is no 5 listicle about how to find your perfect partner. This is trial and error. This is 50-50. You get it right half the time, you get it wrong half the time. When you get it wrong, you own your shit, you do your research, and you have a feeling. And then when you're able, you try again. So I guess this is our anti-goal talk.
Yeah, and I think like if we were to like make some tips for goals, I'd say like you deserve the goal that you're like, I don't want to be hokey here, like woo woo, but like you deserve to have the goal that you feel ashamed of wanting, right? You deserve to set that as a goal. I'm not saying you're going to get there, but you deserve to set that as a goal. And you also, create that experience, that vulnerability of what it feels like to actually set like a real goal. Like, what is the goal? Not like I want to lose the weight, but like I want to feel however in this dress, or I want to feel sexy, or I want to feel like capable, or whatever the messaging is. I want to feel X, Y, and Z. Don't be afraid to like set the goals and make them challenging, right? But then also like be in the process of achieving those goals, because there's no like later on, right? If we go back to the weird 4,000 weeks book, whatever. Like we don't have once it's the future, right? Once we can read the future, once we know the future, we're already in the past. So like we really only have right now. So we can spend time focusing on like just the process of working towards those goals. So like creating a relationship with your goals. It's not just the goal. and then sacrifice all of the relationships with self as you go to meet that goal, but like spending that time building up that relationship to that goal. And that is also ultimately the relationship that you have with yourself, with your personal values, with all of those really deep, sweet parts of yourself. Maybe there's some forgiveness or God knows what else in there.
God willing, there's a little bit of forgiveness.
But having these very rigid goals that we hold ourselves to, and for the wrong reasons, and to avoid all the feelings that come along with that process, we're really shortchanging ourselves. And like Toni said, we all want the quick fix. We really, really do. We all want to be out of pain as soon as possible. We all want to make that thing go away because it does have some kind of value. But we're here to say that it's a process, that we're in. It's work that we do. We've designed the portal, and it has all of these classes for you to start to lean into that process a little bit, to get to know yourself through your breathing, to get to know your body through your movement, to get you out of pain. We've got specialty topics like these. This is all content for people that love to be in this process, hate to love to be in this process, right? Once you start down that path, you realize there's really no other way.
Yeah, and the last point that I would put on Kath's really beautiful list, and maybe we can like comb through this and like put that list up, is just the goal, or, this isn't a goal, but the expectation that there will be failure. So many people are so afraid to fail, and we're all going to encounter failure or missteps or mishaps or partially complete things. And I would love if like we could just start to have conversations around like that shame, the shame of not being perfect, the shame of if I can't do it perfect, then I'm not going to do it at all, because we are robbing ourselves of the experience that is going to be messy and funny and disappointing and exciting. And
when you commit to that, like whatever that goal is, and recognize that failure is a part of it. Like Toni and I right now we're trying to build this portal, and we're putting a lot of effort and work into it. And things don't work all the time. And because we're so focused on this process of learning all about this thing that we're building and kind of building, like we are face-to-face people, this is a totally new realm for us. Like when something doesn't work out, like at one point it would have caused like, we can't do this, we're failures, like done, not doing this, just gonna go get another job somewhere else. We don't even see them as failures anymore. It's just like immediately we're back to the drawing board. So that's once you've kind of committed, you believe in yourself enough to start something. The failures are like half the time we don't even realize we're failing. It's like happening all the time. Like it's 20 times today, 25 times today, like only evidence against.
It's just what I do
Only
with my
evidence
time.
against. And then there's these little glimmers of evidence for that keep us going. And like
that's it. That's really all there is.
That's all there is. That's all there is. Like, yeah. I mean, we're in our sweatsuits on the couch.
For a clown shirt.
Clown shirt.
So that's it.
Anyways, short and sweet today.
Yeah. We're not doing questions. We're not hanging out because today we're like, we're going to do a little brain dump because so many people are so frustrated. So many people are feeling totally overwhelmed and emotions are running high. And there are lots of really great reasons, but you get to be affirmed that your process is enough and you are making progress. You really are. If you're trying, you're making progress, and you get to reevaluate.
And if you failed the quick fix, you're making progress.
Yeah. And all of us are going to fail the quick fix. 1 out of 100 or maybe 1 out of 1,000 times the quick fix will work.
And if you stop seeing the provider that actually was the only one that's helping you, go back.
Just go back.
You didn't fail.
Yeah. And they don't mind that you left. No. Nobody. Not your therapist, not your trainer, not your PT or your ortho. Like they all just want you to feel better. And if anyone does shame you, then you should probably just.
They probably weren't the person
they just
making you feel better in the first place.
It wasn't them. All right. Thanks.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Kath.
Thanks, Tone.
Thanks, Kath. Thanks, Tone. All right. See ya. Sam, hi.